Barry Bonds, the controversial Barry Bonds, was on a friend of the show, Rob, Jerry Hairston. What a get.
Jerry Hairston
For his
Jr.,
first podcast. It's called Hollywood Swinging.
Hollywood
podcast.
Swinging. Remember that song?
Yeah.
Alex, you remember that song too, right?
Swingin'.
Hollywood Swinging.
He gets Barry Bonds on the podcast.
That'll give people a listen, huh?
Yeah, it will. So shout out to Jerry, friend of the show. But here's what Barry Bonds said, Rob, about his kind of place in the sport that he dominated for a few decades.
Major League Baseball, and let's get this clearly and straight, had a rule and has rules. Okay? Whether they were broken or not broken, there were rules, some rules. My era, there was no rules. In the era they changed the rules in 2003 or 2004, whenever the rules started to change, there was rules. There are some people that were convicted of those rules during the case of those rules. Well, Major League Baseball said if you did X, you were suspended for X. His numbers still are the same based on what he's accomplished. That does not prevent him from the other part of for getting into the Hall of Fame. It has nothing to do with it. Major League Baseball already punished you for those stints. Why is Hall of Fame punishing you? Doesn't make sense. It makes zero sense that you're being double punished for something that you've already been punished for. I belong with my teammates in that Hall of Fame for 100%.
I agree with Barry Bonds, 100%, Chris. As you know, I voted for him all 10 years he was on the ballot. I think that it's one of the bad things that the writers got wrong. I really believe that because we already have people in, Chris, who were suspected of the juice. Mike Piazza, long rumored. Pudge Rodriguez, Chris, who I was in Detroit after the Canseco book. Yep. Pudge, go get the pictures. I'm not making up a story because I like Barry Bonds. Chris. He lost 40 pounds in the offseason. If you go back, he didn't look like the same person. He claimed that he ate salad all summer, all winter, and walked. I told him, I swear to you, I said to him, you should write a diet book if that's what you did to lose the weight because it was unbelievable. And one of my premises is that Bonds never was suspended, Chris, from the league. They tested. That's a big part of it. Some of the guys I don't vote for, once they changed the rules, Chris, and he's right, there were no rules in place. And I'm not being naive. I don't want anybody to think that I'm naive, and I think that there wasn't people using juice, and, Chris, it wasn't rampant. I'm not naive or a fool. If you ask me point blank, do I think Barry Bonds used PEDs or, any of that? Absolutely. Absolutely. Did Mark McGwire? Absolutely. But there are a lot of other players who didn't hit home runs or break records, Chris, who no one cares about. And they also did it.
Well, Rob, and Bonds admitted to using the quote-unquote clear cream in the clear. Cream in the clear. And he said he didn't know, what it was.
What was being rubbed on him, right?
Right. But I'm with you and with Bonds. The fact is he didn't break the rules. Now we know, like you said, that he used steroids and PEDs.
We're not naive.
It was.
Right.
There's no question. I mean, that he used it. You saw how he was built early in his career, and we saw how he was built later in his career, and we saw the way he was. Rob, we've never seen anything like that. As much as I talk about the greatness of Shohei Ohtani.
We didn't see anything like it.
And Aaron Judge even. Yeah, Barry Bonds was a video game.
He was unbelievable.
He was seeing one pitch a game and knocking it out the park. It was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous.
And here's the thing, Rob, and this is what the writers, for the most part, who view themselves, and I get, and I like that, and I respect that, but view themselves, as the caretakers of the game.
Right, and I get it.
If they're going to be honest with themselves, then they have to recognize, and this is according to players from back in the day, most notably, Rob, the former pitcher, Tom House. And we talked about it before. He has gone on the record. He was a pitcher in the 60s and 70s.
They used it back then.
He said they were taking steroids that you wouldn't give to a horse.
Yep.
Direct quote. He said there were 6 to 7 pitchers on every roster trying everything out. And we know the amphetamines that are now banned.
That used to be given out, Chris.
They used to be quote-unquote greenies.
Right, and you know what? They used to be in a bowl in the clubhouse like M&Ms. Like M&Ms.
So if we're going to be fair, then let's be fair. And we don't know who from back in the day was using what from back in the day.
Because we don't have a test of everybody. Now, Chris, if they did a test for everybody who played during that era and only Bonds and McGuire and Clemens came back dirty, Chris, then I'm with you. If you have a test, but you don't have a test from everybody.
No,
you don't even have a negative, a positive test from Bonds or from Clemens,
right?
Or from Sosa.
And it wasn't against the rules at that time. And baseball, Rob, let's keep it real.
Turned its head.
Baseball knew what was going on. They had just come off the strike where they missed the World Series.
Yep, and the game was down,
to get
Chris.
back in the good graces of the fans. Absolutely. They want to drop this hogwash about it. It was the 90s. Who knew about steroids? What?
Crazy.
Everybody. That's who. In the 80s, we knew about steroids. In high school, I heard about steroids. There were people at high schools I went to taking steroids for football or just to look good.
Chris, can you
Don't
go
act
what?
like you didn't know about steroids.
Go to Lyle Alzada's Wikipedia.
Yep.
I dare you. Go to Lyle Alzada's Wikipedia. Chris, it's in there where later in his career he admitted he started using steroids in 1969. 1969. Stop it. It's not new.
Right.
Stop it.
They knew what was going on. They turned a blind eye because they were captivating all of America with all the home runs, and now they want to come down on a few individuals. And
it's not right.
No, it's not right. And look, again, we're not exonerating Bonds. The fact of the matter is this, and I'm not even talking about the PEDs. Take the PEDs out of the argument or the discussion. Rob, you cannot tell the story of baseball without Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds.
Nope,
just
you can't.
on the game itself. Forget the scandals outside of the game.
And Chris,
you can't tell it. And I admit you can't tell it without Pete Rose either because he hit 4,000 plus hits. But still, he bet on baseball, which we all knew was against the rule.
Which we knew at that time, right.
This is the thing. There was no rule. He technically didn't break the rule.
Right. Was never suspended by the league.
It was just frowned upon.
And the other thing, too, is, baseball, it's a double standard that I don't understand. I told you, Chris, Jeff Bagwell, Mike Piazza, Pudge Rodriguez, they're all linked to it.
Right.
They're all linked to the juice, but they got into the Hall of Fame. Here's the other thing. How come Joe Torre, manager of the Yankees, right? How come he gets his standard? If the Yankees cheated and Clemens was cheating, why do we allow the Yankees to have their 27 World Series? Why is that not tainted? Why is Joe Torre's managerial record not tainted? Tony La Russa had two of the biggest ones, Chris. Mark McGuire and
Jose
Canseco, right? He's in the Hall of Fame. Nobody looks down and says, "Well, he had all the juice guys, so of course he won." Bobby Cox. There's all these guys, Chris, who have guys who are linked, and for whatever reason, the team goes unscathed. The managers go unscathed. Baseball goes unscathed. And the only people are a handful of guys that you want to say, "Oh, Bonds, shame on you. Oh, Roger Clemens, shame on you." It is just the most. That's why I voted for all those guys their entire time on the ballot. Chris, I didn't vote for all the steroid guys. Manny Ramirez, one of the greatest right-handed hitters I ever saw. Chris,
I covered Manny.
You covered Manny. He was a great player. Am I right? Great player.
Yep. But he got caught.
when they changed the rules, Chris, he got busted 2 or 3 times.
Yep.
That's why I didn't vote for him.
The hypocrisy is glaring, deafening. And I really think one of the biggest indictments is the testimony of Tom House, Rob. Let's not act like it was so pristine in the 60s and 70s. It wasn't. And they were using stuff that's banned today. When they did it, it wasn't against the rules. But it is now. Same with Bonds. When he did it, it wasn't against the rules. It is now.
Right.
It's as simple as that. It's almost like, Rob, you brought up Bagwell and these other guys. It's almost like if Bagwell had hit 65 home runs in the season, he would be banned.
Right. Because he didn't do that,
anything
right.
so spectacular. He was obviously a good player.
Right.
But he didn't do anything so spectacular that it raised alarms. You know?
And
I mean, that's really what all it boils down to.
That's what it comes down to, and that a lot of people, and it does, Chris, their love for Hank Aaron, and they don't want Barry Bonds to be the home run king. Go look in the baseball record books, Chris. He's the home run king. Whether you like the stats haven't been taken away.
Right.
Because you can't take away the stats. How? He was never suspended by the league. How could you take away what?
Well, Rob, and if people want to say, because again, he didn't break any rules that were in baseball at that point. People want to say, well, it shows bad character. It wasn't moral, which I agree. But how many players in the Baseball Hall of Fame had bad character?
How about baseball
I mean, how about we go
Chris?
back before 1947? Thank you. We go back before 1947 right. And even after that. And it's a host of bad characters and bad apples that are in the Hall of Fame. And so it's just hypocritical, Rob. It's as simple as that. And I would like the writers to just be honest about it. That's all.
Yep. I'm with you.
Be honest about it.
I was on MLB Network that night, Chris, the last night that Bonds and Clemens had a chance to get in. And I said it that night on the air. And you know me, I'm a proud card-carrying member of the BBWAA. You know I am.
Right.
And Chris, I got a lot of respect for the baseball writers. They allowed a black baseball writer into the BBWAA in 1947. Do you know what this country was, Chris, in 1947? Yep. It wasn't a good place. Black writers before that, Chris, were on top of the roof covering the game. They wouldn't even let them in the press box. But we blew it when it comes to Bonds and it comes to Clemens. We really did. We blew it.